Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon, and I wish I were doing a happier video than this one. We're going to talk about the Punisher and the media's call and the comic book industry's call to basically ban the Punisher because of what happened the other day in the Capitol, that there were some individuals involved in that incident that wore, I don't even know what I can say on YouTube or what I can't say on YouTube, individuals that wore the Punisher insignia. They wore the Punisher insignia, and because of that, we have comic book creators calling for a ban on the Punisher. Just some, but we have other media outlets talking about the Punisher being problematic. He is problematic, and you know, because of that, because of the Punisher skull being spotted during the Capitol riots, that the Punisher needs to be banned, that Disney and Marvel need to, disown it, basically, and or enforce the trademark and just retire this character. I think that's a very extreme reaction, because I've seen this before. I saw it before with Doom and Columbine, where the video game Doom was being blamed for the atrocity at Columbine, but it had nothing to do with Doom. It just happened to be that Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold did play the game, but that's not why they did what they did. Just like, you know, the people wearing the Punisher insignia, they didn't do what they did because of the Punisher. In fact, I would say that probably most people who wear the Punisher logo don't read the comics, are not actually familiar with the character, and it is a massive overreaction to just ban the character because somebody did something not good in the name of a particular character or a video game or a song. Are we banning the Beatles because of Charles Manson? You know, we never did ban the Beatles. And it's a very typical emotional overreaction. We get this all the time when we have high profile incidents like we had the other day. So we're going to talk about that. And again, we normally don't get that political on the channel, and I really don't want to, but the real world is encroaching on pop culture week after week, month after month, year after year. And since we talk about comics so much on the channel and all of that, I think it definitely needs to be discussed, because what happens? What happens if somebody does something very heinous and they're wearing a Goku t-shirt or something? Do we ban Dragon Ball? I don't know what to say to this. I personally think it's an overreaction, but there we go. Anyway, before we get into it, guys, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're over 168,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. It's greatly appreciated. So let's talk about this. I'm not sure where it got started. I think it came from Comic Tropes on Twitter. I had a couple people send me this, and I sat on it for a while because I wasn't sure if I really wanted to cover it. But given that I have seen this before multiple times, that certain characters or songs or icons or whatever are sort of co-opted by people who don't have their best intentions in mind, and a lot of them who don't even or aren't even familiar with the source material. They don't read the comic books, they just think it's cool. So this is coming from Comic Tropes. The seditionists that invaded the Capitol today wore a Punisher logo. I say Marvel needs to either aggressively enforce their trademark so it isn't printed everywhere, or abandon the Punisher completely. You can't allow your characters to be used by terrorists. I want to point out, if we're going to go down that route, that there was a thing going around for a while that if you used Space Invaders, that you were part of Antifa, which again is a really stupid thing. It's a really stupid thing to make that connection. Space Invaders is a game that's been around since the late 70s. The invaders themselves, which are iconic in geek culture, are not supporting Antifa, but that was the thing, because we had people within Antifa that were using Space Invaders. But it doesn't mean that the rest of us can't use Space Invaders or play Space Invaders. If you play Space Invaders, I guess you're Antifa or something. This is just, again, I think it's an overreaction. Some of the replies here, we've got Black Sage D. You call yourself a comic book fan, but actively try to chastise people for wearing the logo of a comic book character on their shirt. Fake fans like you are the reason the American comic book industry is dying. It's always funny to watch these mindless parrots lap up and spew out the word of the day, sedition. Can you say it with me? It's basically, we've got everybody giving an emotional reaction. And look, when these things happen, anything that's associated with the incident tends to get entangled. And what I see is an immediate call to ban this thing or that thing or whatever, which, as someone who I'd like to think I advocate for free speech or freer speech, it's kind of terrifying. All it takes is for somebody to use a character or an icon or a song in bad faith, and that could be banned, add to the ban list, even if it's not the creator's original intent. And I can tell you the creators of The Punisher most certainly did not agree with what went down in the Capitol. I guess we banned Joker and the Watchmen next, right? Yeah, I guess you could actually make more of a case for the Joker and Watchmen too. I don't want to send the conversation down a rabbit hole. Why they have white ties? I don't know. I don't know. I do both. The character is used over and bland as hell. You can't just allow one of your major character symbols to become a fascist icon. I don't like it. Somebody did something bad. It must be banned. Should we abandon the American flag too? Yeah, they were wearing that, so that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Now, the thing is, I thought it wouldn't get that far, but this is Twitter we're talking about. We've got people posting articles about it, about the fascination that boys have with the military, and somehow the Punisher is getting intertwined with all of that because the Punisher has been used by military for a while, I guess. But he is himself a military man who saw his family murdered in front of him, and he goes out and he hunts mobsters. That's his thing. So we've got this whole comic strip. Somebody spent all this time putting together a comic strip telling you why people who rock the Punisher are bad people. Oh my God. This is, okay. People who rock the Punisher logo think they're above the law and the myth of eternal innocence. The cowboy, the rebel, the sovereign citizen, to some an allowance of whiteness. The Punisher is an allowance of whiteness. According to another comic book artist named Nate Powell from last year. Last year he did this. Now I know he does graphic novels, Nate Powell. But yeah, so this conversation's come up. I know Jamal Igle weighed in on it, and he was basically like, I was never okay with the Punisher. Whenever I saw the Punisher show up in cartoons, I got the same uneasy feeling I got when they made Rambo and RoboCop cartoons in children's toys. I'll be honest, I actually kind of thought RoboCop was kind of a weird choice for a kid's cartoon given the movie, but still. It's time, calling for Marvel to put him out to pasture completely. It's time for Marvel to put the Punisher out to pasture. The concept is corrupted. The concept is corrupted. It's only corrupted if you think it's corrupted. I mean, yeah, if it's vigilanteism and all of that, what does the bat symbol mean? I've heard people say that Batman is a problematic rich white guy, but, we've got Batman toys, little kids' toys. You got Batman toys you play with in the bathtub. Is this why they're trying to run down Batman? I don't know. I don't have a problem with the Punisher as a character, except when he's positioned as a hero to be admired. Now, when he was first introduced and when I read him, he really wasn't a hero. He was definitely an anti-hero. But it just depends on who's writing him. And then it just goes down some rabbit hole about Ethan Van Sciver, I think. I don't know. Look, we've got Inverse writing about it, of course. The Punisher isn't Marvel's anymore. He belongs to the Proud Boys. He belongs to the Proud Boys. He's not Marvel's. For years, police, soldiers, and a wide swath of political right, including white supremacists, have united in love for the Punisher. They love other Marvel characters too. A handful came prepared for the coup with MAGA Civil War sweatshirts that rip on the movie logo of Civil War. But the Proud Boys vest is just the latest instance of the right's historical appropriation of the Punisher as a hyper-masculine, hyper-intimidating avatar Punisher skulls have been seen on Yahtzees in Charlottesville and on the police during the BLM protests. The Punisher skull is intimidating. For whom, though, and for what? The implications are scary. At the heart of it is Marvel and Disney's unwillingness to enforce boundaries on its IP. The vast majority of non-Marvel approved Punisher merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, patches, decals, water bottles, and more, use a specific skull virtually identical to the one used for the 2004 film. But there's no specific love for that movie. No, actually, it was pretty god-awful. So then they kind of go back to it. Here's Marvel's response. Marvel's silence on the likely illegal use of the Punisher by cops, soldiers, and Yahtzees has been deafening for years. The only explicit acknowledgement has been a one-time moment in July of 2019, the most recent volume of The Punisher by Matthew Rosenberg, where the Punisher rips a skull decal from a police vehicle. "We believe in you," the police tell the Punisher. "We're not on the same side," he says, tearing up their sticker. But that's one writer lending their voice to Frank Castle. It's not a statement by Marvel or Disney as a company, and there continues to be no visible action taken to strike the use of the Punisher outside Marvel licensing. I don't know if they can enforce it. I'm going to be honest. I'm not 100% sure because Disney is very trademark happy. If they can actually enforce the logo, because it is kind of, I mean, it's associated with the Punisher, but it's also just a skull logo. You know, the long teeth, whatever, it is part of his uniform. But I'm not sure they could enforce it, because can you just trademark a drawing of a skull? And then at that point, you just change it to something else. I don't know. The Punisher's creator, Jerry Conway, agrees with his creation. The son of a cop and whose uncle was an NYPD Academy captain, Conway told Inverse in 2017, "The idea that the police are supposed to be given a pass on laws they're held to enforce is incomprehensible. It's not my understanding of the police." That's where it gets sticky, isn't it, right? Because the Punisher basically does what the police don't do. And the Punisher believes, in many cases, the police have failed. You'd think that would be on the right side of history for some of the same people calling for the Punisher to be boycotted, basically. As far as the Yahtzees go, Conway says they're despicable human beings, and Frank Castle would have all of them in his crosshairs. The fact that Yahtzees embrace it is a tragic misunderstanding. It's a misappropriation of the character and a blatant disregard of reality. They literally do not know what they're effing talking about. Again, it's just a cool looking logo for most people. I guarantee you they're not reading the comics. They're not familiar with the character. You know, but to call for it to be banned because you've got some people that used it is just kind of way overkill. And again, you know, we've seen this before. We saw it with Doom and Columbine. There was some outrage for a little bit, and eventually, you know, it just kind of went down the memory hole. Space Invaders, same thing. Helter Skelter, same thing. I think maybe after a while, possibly, you know, a lot of people will probably forget about it. Maybe going forward, Disney is going to try to take a heavier hand in it. But, I mean, there was this talk a couple weeks ago about them bringing the Punisher back to the MCU. Now, I don't know if this is going to affect, you know, that at all. I have no idea. But, you know, a lot of people love John Bernthal as the Punisher. He was very popular in Daredevil. And, you know, if there's money to be made, I don't know if Disney is going to turn that down for a very vocal minority of outraged comic book fans and creators who have apparently had a problem with this character for years and with pro-military characters for years. But Jerry Conway is a pretty liberal guy, as I understand it. And, you know, currently, as far as I know, he hasn't said anything else about it. But there it is. There it is. So people calling for the banning of the Punisher because of this. Curious what your thoughts are. Leave a comment below. We'll talk to you guys later.